Saturday night, 9 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. I'm Gary Groob in Toronto. With me, I've got Shawn Slaght in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. How are you, Shawn?
Doing very good. Thanks, Gary.
Awesome. And I have Muffler Mike Kostiuk over in Connecticut. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great.
Cool. Another great week, eh, guys?
Oh,
All
yeah.
kinds of news, all
Yep.
kinds of games, all kinds of surprises, really.
Surprises, yep.
And our theme
Is it speaking of surprises?
Yeah. It's going to be one of those.
Welcome, enjoy the ride. I tell you, things are kind of weird. That's all. Around here, we just call them Sunday. But anyways, just to get on with the show stuff. First off, just remember that all the episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and also Twitch. And you can catch all the action on eopsports.com. Remember to hit those subscribe, follow, and like buttons, and always share. You can enjoy all of our affiliates. As you can see, we have plenty of shows every day of the week. Broad Street Bully Podcast, Philly Press Box Radio, Edge of Philly Sports Live, Bird's IQ, Madison Avenue Fanatics, Talking Philly Sports with Matty B, Devereaux Sports, The Painted Lines, Party on Broad. And if you've missed a show, don't worry. You can grab all the podcasts on all major podcasting companies, including iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, Amazon, Spotify, and so much more. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting eopsports.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. Subscribe also to our weekly newsletter while you're there, again, at eopsports.com. Remember, if you're in for a beer in the Philadelphia area, the place you want to go is Dolan's over 24 East Sellers Avenue in Ridley Park. Quizzes, music, great times, memorabilia giveaways. And if you want to make it to the game or to concerts and want to be able to get it with no hidden fees, Sherry's Ticket Town is where you want to be. Sherry'sTickets.com is easy to use and has no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Pay less and play more with Sherry'sTickets.com. Save even more by using the exclusive promo code EOP10. Don't pay hidden fees and also save 10%. Why use any other ticket reseller and get those hard-to-come-by tickets to the big game? If you need more of a personal touch, give them a call at 610-494-5050 or visit their office at 1382 Nommans Creek Road, Suite 1 in Garnet Valley, Pennsylvania. Sherry'sTickets.com also has great theater and concert tickets. They're hard to get your hands on. Remember, don't overpay with the rest. Save with the best at Sherry'sTickets.com. And save an extra 10% by using the promo code EOP10, and that will do that for good. PhillySportsTrips.com. Obviously, the Eagles are done, but the Phillies are starting up. Unfortunately, the trips that they had over to Clearwater have been sold out, but come the season, there's an ultimate trip to Yankee Stadium, April 3rd. You want to go maybe to the draft in Kansas City for the NFL, April 27th through 30th. The Philadelphia Union is starting up, and they have a couple of really, really cool deals there. One is the Union in Denver, May 13th to 16th, which you can also parlay with the Phillies baseball trip to Colorado as well in that same weekend. Also, there's a trip from to London and Leeds to watch the Union, May 24th through 30th. So give those guys a look up at PhillySportsTrips.com. If you wind up in any legal issues, David R. Cherry Esquire and the Cherry firm will be happy to help you out. Workers' comp claims, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, or criminal law. David R. Cherry and his group will be happy to help you. Tell them the EOP boys sent you, and they will help you away. Well, that was a mouthful, as always. Just one more little reminder for the Rochester Bats, second annual Bats Invitational Battle of the 90. The Bats are going to be facing Bank City over at the Blue Cross Arena Saturday, April 8th. Face-off is 1:30. The doors open at 1. Admission is free with your Nighthawks ticket for that game that night against Albany. So you can take a look for cheaper tickets with the Rochester Bats. Go check their website out, and they will hook you up. A little bit of news this week, guys. Tom Schreiber, he had his birthday this week. Happy birthday, Tom. So some other news, Chase Fraser just re-signed with Buffalo a 1-year deal. So that's good news for you Bandits fans. The Peterborough Lakers, the four Peters, they went today, actually, and they all received their rings. So if you want to have a gander at this beauty, that's a big old ring showing all four man cups from the 4P. Now, of course, we can't have news on MSL without having news on MSL. Another one's not going to be playing this year, and with all the headaches that have gone on, the Owen Sound team now have pulled out for this year. And their quote was, "With all the hurdles and stops and starts we have endured over the past 18 months, the momentum we were attempting to build in our community has suffered. Together with our current owner, we plan to execute an appropriate business plan that will allow the club to flourish and grow in Owen Sound and take and the entire Grey Bruce community. We'd like to thank the MSL and OLA boards for giving us this opportunity, and we look forward to returning to play in 2024. General Manager Steve McCarthy and Lynn Withers, the MSL Commissioner. This drama just keeps going on, and now we're down to 5 teams, 4 teams that we know of, and Brampton, if they're able to get, I still haven't heard much about the team other than they've drafted some people. So it's still up in the air. Are we going to have the same thing as last year and have a 4-team league?
Well, let's hope not, but it's not looking good. I have to
It's
think
going in that direction,
Yeah,
isn't
doesn't
it?
look
I
good
have
at
to
all.
think if Owen Sound's having these problems, of course, Brampton's maybe partly to blame for Owen Sound having some of these problems with their personnel.
Well, just the
and
delays,
whatnot.
right? The original news 18 months ago that they were moving and the whole area was excited. Well, we've had a year where they didn't play. We've had another 6 months after that where we're sitting and there's no news. So, of course, it's not the hot item. So I'm assuming, of course, tickets would be suffering and any other interest in sponsorships. So,
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. I was just looking at it from a personnel standpoint because I assumed part of the plan was that not all of the players who were on that roster when the team moved were going to end up staying on that roster.
right, right. Well, there's all kinds of little loopholes too.
Yeah.
So,
And that's what
How are you,
I was
Eduardo?
Eduardo. That was the point I was going to make, Gary. Like you said, I found maybe a little bit of a shot at Brampton with that whole kind of start and stop, and we can't have any momentum. A little bit of a shot there saying, hey, like, unless they just leave us alone, we can't do anything.
Exactly. Travis,
Hey, Pilly.
welcome to the show, man.
thanks for tuning in.
And of course, Ryan, he's got his statement.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But yeah, so we'll see what happens with there. But again, we're a few months out to the MSL season. I imagine they'd be releasing a schedule real soon, and now they're going to have to change that around again. They're pretty good at that, though. They did that a few times last year, didn't they?
Yeah.
True.
Just an absolute nightmare. For a league that actually is growing, let's go with the Premier Lacrosse League, and they had their championship series tournament this week. It culminated with a 24-23 victory by Chrome over Atlas in what I thought was a really good game today. Some of these games this week have been sheer blowouts. The scores have been, like the All-Star game, the average differential was about 9 goals. But this game in its own right, man, it was the last 4 minutes or so, you're on the edge of your seat because Atlas is down by 2-point goal. All of a sudden in the last minute, Chrome is scoring. Atlas got the ball, all kinds of things going on. And 24-23, just an absolutely fantastic game. The Golden Stick went to the top scorer in the tournament. And that was Romar Dennis. Congratulations, Romar. Great tournament. 6'5", man. What a beast. But yeah, it was actually, some of the games that I watched, and again, it was in the sixes format. So it was giving everybody an opportunity to see what it's going to look like when it gets to the Olympics. And fast-paced, lots of scoring. And, Scanoni, you figure he gave a 23 goal. Well, he made 15 saves, which is unheard of in this kind of thing. So if there was an MVP for the game, I would have given it to him anyways because he was spectacular and a real reason why Chrome won. Moving along, we go into the Arena Lacrosse League. And, well, we had some interesting games this weekend because, one, Peterborough is not winless anymore. They beat the Paris River Wolves on Friday evening in Peterborough. And this was a game of special teams. I believe the Timbermen had 3 power play goals and had 3 shorthanded goals, where the River Wolves had 2 power play goals and 3 shorthanded goals. It was a real crazy game. But 10-8 was your final. Really cool game. The next night, that same night, Saturday night in Toronto, at the track, you had Whitby against Toronto, the Monarchs, and this was a battle for first place. This was a game I had circled on my calendar that I wanted to see. And what happened was Whitby jumped out to a 7-1 lead just a couple of minutes into the second quarter and looked like they were going to run away with this game. Toronto dug and dug and dug, and by the end of the third quarter, they were tied. And through that fourth quarter, I think 6 times they were tied. And with 2 minutes left, Toronto got the leading goal and then a little bit of insurance with a few seconds left, and they came away with the 19-17 win. Amazing game. So I wouldn't be surprised to see these guys in the finals. Just fantastic, fantastic play. And ironically, the goalies were part of the 3 stars because there were so many shots flying around. It was just incredible. There were 2 games over in the ILA today, the Iroquois Lacrosse Arena out in Six Nations. The Oshawa Outlaws beat the Oswego Bears 18-9, and the Brampton Express beat the Six Nations Snipers 17-8. Again, not really surprising, being that the Outlaws and Express are also battling for first place, whilst the Bears and the Snipers have struggled during the year. So, pretty much status quo. So our leaderboard there is going to have Toronto and Brampton in first place. I believe with Oshawa pulling up the rear, with Whitby pulling up the rear in second. And then the big drop before the bottom 4 teams. So it looks like it's already set itself for upcoming playoffs at the end of March. But anything can happen, I'm sure. But yeah, some pretty interesting games there.
Yeah, should be a good playoff series, especially if the 4 teams you expect to be there.
Yeah,
Well,
a
yeah,
lot of parity, which is great to see. Yeah,
and
especially
you're talking
with
about
those top 4.
some NLL caliber goalies in that. You got Deacon Knott, who's been playing with Oshawa. Ethan Woods is playing. There's a few of these guys. Dan Dockerly just made it back to the NLL, but he was playing in there too. So, you're talking about NLL caliber players and goalies. So in those top 4 teams, Cam Milligan's with Oshawa now. So you've got some really great players. So if you have a chance to get out to see these games, they're inexpensive. They're in the afternoon most of the time. Go out and check it out. You're not going to be disappointed. Great quality of play. Moving along, we get over to the NLL and the 5 games that we had this week. Our pick'ems didn't do so great, did they? The winner of the pick'ems this week was Ryan with 3 wins. And the 3 of us were sitting there in second with 2 wins.
And lucky to get 2 wins at that.
Yeah. Actually, the overtime game was pretty close. It was nip and tuck because it looked like it was going to be only 1 win.
Yeah.
And really, if there was a week for upsets, this was the week. We start off Friday night, and we start off with upsets Friday night. Who's got the first game, guys?
I think that would be me.
All right.
So Panther City went to Colorado, and this was actually a rubber match. Panther City had won against Colorado the previous week to tie up the season series at 1 apiece. But the Mammoth got some great news with the return of Ryan Lee to the lineup. Finally, hadn't been seen since before last year's playoffs.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
for a while.
and he did not disappoint, putting up 10 points, 2 goals, and 8 assists. Zed Williams had 3 and 1. Another surprise would be Ty Thompson coming into play in place of injured Eli McLaughlin. Of course, Lee comes back, and now McLaughlin goes down.
Yeah, they always have
So,
this injury bite.
yeah, it bounces around to someone. But Thompson put up 3 goals and an assist as well. Connor Robinson had 2 and 3. Colorado wins 14-12. Big game for them because it gets them back to 500. It gets them the season series tiebreaker on Panther City. And for Panther City, it's got to be a tough loss. They hung in there. They made a comeback, made a game out of it. Even got a goalie goal from Nick Demood. It's his second career goalie goal. Ironically, his first one also came against Colorado.
Right.
So he's halfway to tying the NLL record for goalie goals.
Yeah.
And he's only 26 or something like that. So
plenty of opportunity.
Oh yeah.
The one thing I noticed was that Panther City, they left it on the table though. In the first quarter, they got the penalty shot from Crawford. They get a goal from Donville. They have their foot on Colorado's throat and they take it off because they had at least 2 or 3 more breakaways in that quarter, and Dylan Ward stole them.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Dylan Ward took the foot off.
Took the wind out of their sails.
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
normally we talk about goalies, standing on their head in the fourth, to save a game. I mean, Dylan Ward did it in the first. Really, this game could easily have been 5-0, 6-1, 6-1, 6-2, or whatever after one
a whole different
quarter.
a whole different psyche.
It totally would have changed the game. But he had some big stops, and really I think the hardest thing to swallow for Panther City is really going to be just, again, they have that imbalance in the number of division games they play. They play one less in division game than the rest of the contending teams around them. Now they lose the season series to the Mammoth. Next week they've got Saskatchewan, which is another rubber match.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if and I think that game's in Saskatchewan. Correct? I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
So now that makes it even more difficult task. So they really, it's going to be tough because if they can't pull out a win next weekend, they they very well could be on the outside looking in when it comes playoff time if they don't have a better win-loss record than the teams around them.
Right. Now, my question: where's Dean Farrell? Is he hurt? I haven't heard a thing.
I don't know. Yeah, he was scratched. I believe Jake Fox was scratched. So, I don't know if they're just.
It's a lot of offense not to
decided they maybe wanted to get Gauthier some reps on the left side, just.
We're getting a lot of anything, really. Patrick Dodd's had 4 goals, and then you go around from there, and there's not a whole lot of anything going on. Caputo.
No, there isn't. Yeah, I mean, Caputo was pretty quiet. Callum Crawford had 2 and 4. Will Malcolm had a relatively quiet night, 1 and 3. Donville was 1 and 2.
These are guys that need to step up.
Yeah, they need to find a little bit more consistency in that offense.
They are. I wonder if maybe they're just doing a little too much tinkering with swapping guys in and out.
Very possible.
They're in kind of that same situation that we talked about, whatever it was a month ago when Vancouver had like 9 forwards on the squad. And it was like, okay, how are you going to get all these guys reps? So, okay, it's in
It's in
Panther
Panther
City.
City, yeah.
So that's, I mean, they got that working in their favor at least. So they're back home, but that's really,
Have you
I
seen
mean,
that
it really is a must win for them because they still have, I believe they still have 1 or 2 against San Diego. That's another series that, they're down 0-1. Calgary, I believe there's 1 rubber match
Right.
maybe remaining. So, and again, you've got that imbalance with them playing 1 less in division game. So the wins are going to be more important for them to have in division.
especially with how tight this West Division is. A couple losses could put you right out of the race pretty quick.
It is. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's going to be quite a race as we're going
Yeah.
to find out with the next game that we discuss.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
that is a
Yeah.
good point. We'll get to that game in a bit. But the next shocker was Calgary and Vegas. Now, for the life of me, if you gave me that game to pick 10 times I had to pick Calgary, and I did.
Oh, 100%.
And the way Calgary's been playing over the last 4 or 5 weeks, what would lead me to believe that this upset was going to happen?
Yeah, I don't think anyone saw this coming. Obviously, Vegas with an 11-9 win over Calgary in Las Vegas. And the other unusual thing I found too is Vegas kind of fought fire with this one. Like you don't want to get a track meet with Calgary, yet John Wagner had a pair of goals. Like they were beating him on transition as well. It was a very bizarre strategy, but it seemed to work for him. And a really balanced attack too by Vegas. We got a goal out of Marshall King. Hellier had a goal, 2 from John Phillips. Jack Hanna had a 5-point night. So if there's any question whether he can play the box game,
that's long gone.
Yeah. Charlie Bertrand with 4 assists. Like I said, 2 from Wagner. And Zach Greer again. He's finding his groove again. 2 goals and 2 assists. They just found a way to shut down Calgary. And Landon Kells had probably one of his best games yet against his mentor in Christian Del Bianco, which was great to see.
What I liked was they were able to withstand that second, where Calgary scored 6 times to their 1, and they didn't fold up. It was 7-7 at the half, and after that big jump to start the game, they didn't fold. And Vegas of the beginning of the year, I think would have folded, probably would have lost by 9 goals. This team fought, clawed, fought again, and wound up taking the 2-goal win.
And that's a great point because we know Calgary is kind of notorious for slow starts. Mm-hmm. So they're used to being down at the half and just coming back. So the fact that Vegas could just kind of keep their foot down and kind of almost kick them while they're down, like not let them back in this game was just
they shut them out in the third.
Thing.
So they shut them down just enough to get that 2-goal lead, and then matched them goal for goal in the fourth. So. Whatever Sean Williams is doing, they're buying into it now.
Well, that's the thing. Like Vegas is probably one of the hottest teams right now. I think 4 of the last 5 they've won. I could be incorrect about that.
They're 1 game under 500. So
if they keep this up, they're going to be right in that race too.
There's something I didn't think any of us would be saying.
Yeah,
really. I'd say they are in the race. I'd say if you're going to draw a line in the West, you're going to draw it just above Vancouver, and that's going to be it. I mean,
I think the only team that really probably doesn't have much of a chance.
Yeah, I mean, they're technically a half game because they got a game in hand behind Colorado, and at this point they're a full game behind Panther City, and you're talking that's 4th place right there.
Yeah.
So or the wild card anyway.
And 4 of their last 5 wins.
Yeah.
So
pretty incredible. Calgary. We had the same.
We were, yeah. I'll admit, I made that pick on momentum, basically.
I think we all did.
Yeah.
So
pretty amazing, though. Pretty amazing. Now we go over to I really enjoyed this game, and that was the Rochester, New York game. And man, it had everything in it. It had everything in it. New York jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Rochester tied it up. New York jumped out to a 4-2 lead with a couple of transition goals, and then Rochester tied it up with their own transition goals. Brunel on New York had a hat trick. You want to talk about transition? I think there were something like 10 or 11 transition goals in this game. It was insane. And Jeff Teat, of course, 4 goals. So, just to put into perspective, of the shots that we have with Teat. I have this little clip here. Now, this is just unfair.
Wow.
Yeah.
The English on that thing. Let's look at it one more time. There it is. He just picks it up and sidearm. But man, if I could bowl like that, I'd be on the tour. And into the corner.
Going low to high like that's just
isn't that crazy?
so accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a constant thing. So anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to send that little clip to you. And you can watch that all day, all night. Because, originally when I saw it, and I've been watching him since he was little, and it just, he's in the gym now too, so he's stronger. So these shots are getting quicker. So,
yep.
And it hasn't stopped any of his speed or finesse. So he's just going to be, remember, he's only been in the league a year and a half. He's only going to get better and better. And that's pretty frightening. To get to the meaty part of it, Rochester was the one who put it together in the second half, so much so they had a 4-goal lead with not a lot of time left. New York clawed their way back with 4 consecutive goals. Again, transition. Paul Dawson even got his first goal this season in this game. Again, in transition. And then, we get into overtime. And if the goalies hadn't already shined in this game, in overtime, these guys were incredible. Hartley doing the splits on one side, Orleman kicking out legs on the other side, back, forth, up, down. It went to almost 15 minutes. We almost had a second OT period. And just to show you how quickly, in transition, off a turnover, here comes Brad Gillies. Boom. And there's your winner. Just to show you how fast I can get in there. One more time, I guess. Come with me. There we are. Boom. Good fake. And there it is. So, yeah, with that, Rochester goes to 8-2. Keeps up with Buffalo and Toronto in the top of the division. New York, another heartbreaking loss, go to 2-8. They could easily be 5-5. Easily. They've lost 2 in overtime. They had that one game against San Diego. Easily could have been. Eduardo, Rochester Red Tards is a fantastic game. Yeah, I agree. That would be the one
game of the week for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we won't go that crazy, but yeah, turnover, coast to coast, Dawson with the goal. I wish I had some footage on that one, but I think it's on Twitter. I have it on my report. But yeah, just absolutely amazing, and this was the second longest game in NLL history, guys.
Wow.
Just to put it on up there. Here we go. The number 1 game was Boston at Orlando in 2010 that went just into the second overtime period. Now, the funny thing is that Paul Dawson was a member of Boston that night. And Paul Dawson being a member of Rochester, he's been part of the 2 longest games and been a winner in both of those games. Going further down the list, Minnesota against Edmonton for a kind of blast from the past. San Jose at Calgary. Arizona at Minnesota. These are a long time ago. Last year was Panther City at New York. Again, New York. Arizona, Anaheim. Blast from the past again. Rochester, Minnesota. Calgary, Colorado. And, of course, Calgary and Edmonton. See Calgary in there quite a bit, too. That is our top 10 of the longest games, going all over 70 minutes. So
Wow.
pretty crazy stuff.
Definitely.
And you figure how quickly in lacrosse to get a goal. That's insane. The amount of opportunities there. Because you look at the numbers in this one, and the shots on goal, the 63-54 in favor of Rochester. Faceoffs were almost even at 13-12. The big thing was that New York went 0 for 2 on the power play. Rochester got 2 power play goals. One of the other things I think that was a turning point was at the beginning of the third. New York thought they had a goal, and Mike Hazen made a really smart challenge, and it looked, it was turned over, but that goal goes in, and again we have a different game because not 15 seconds later, I think that Rochester scored, changed the whole complexion. So literally within that little time frame, it was a 2-goal swing. But that doesn't take anything away from the effort that New York put in, because to come back from 4-goal deficit, and just to put it in perspective, one of the goals they got with just 4 minutes in, the last 3 minutes of the period, with 3:05 left, Riley O'Connor scored. With 1:37 left, Jeff Teat scored. A little dribbler, but it went in. And then in transition, with under a minute left, Ron John scored to tie this game up. And even then, there were a couple of opportunities for both teams to try and win it before overtime. And Brad Gilly scored with just 58 seconds left in that first quarter of overtime. It's amazing.
Yeah, quite the
Eduardo
game.
was at the longest game in Orlando. They stopped serving beer at the end of the third, right? So a long time you left. Just amazing. And like Eduardo made a good point. If you want to introduce somebody to the game, what better game to introduce them to than that game?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, for a game you don't want to introduce somebody, I'll bring you over to Georgia. And there were a lot of rippers going on there, were there, Mike? Lots and lots of rippers.
Yeah, a lot of them were going in for Georgia. So,
yeah, Garrett, the Hawks are looking good, man. None of us gave them their due at the beginning of the season. But as the season has worn on, I'm loving it. I love going in there. Lots of energy in the building again. And the team itself is a good mix of veterans and a lot of youth. And there's only upside. And all the guys who are doubting Hazen if he could do it still, well, I give you this season. Obviously, Mike Hazen still has the magic.
I was just going to say, like we said before, like looking up down that lineup before the beginning of the season, we kind of said, well, there's no one that really jumps out at you on paper, but they've played so well as a team and spreading the ball around.
We actually got it backwards because we gave New York more credo, and not so much to Rochester, when really Rochester's just been absolutely the class of the rebuilds this year. They finally, after a couple of tries, have gotten it right. And as long as Hartley stays healthy, man, that's solid goaltending in the back as well. We'll keep the lights on for you here. I hope it's a better matchup than the first game. The first game was really boring because Toronto just couldn't get their offense going. I credit Rochester defense on that night, but Hartley especially, because they outshot Rochester. And I think Hartley made something like 55 saves in that win, that 11-7 win. So he was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. So we'll see. This version of the Rock is different than that one in week 3. So this one's firing on all cylinders. And Chris Corbeil should be just about ready to return too, just to give him one more weapon. Curious to see who they're going to sit out when he comes back. But you don't want to screw up the chemistry.
Yeah.
Because right now, you got lots. Be another transitional weapon too, right?
Right.
Corbs is great at that,
Oh yeah.
and a big tough guy too, which MO of the Toronto defense. Nobody pushes him around. So and Desnu and Dawson should be back from there, especially with the bye week this week. So they should be healthy. So should be an interesting game. Can they contain Connor Fields? Can they contain Ryan Smith? That's the thing. They were able to contain Jeff Teat in the one game in New York. So we'll see.
Yeah, and if Rochester can pull it out, they win the season series. So
Yeah.
even though I think they played each other
big.
3 times.
That'd
Yeah, and
really
Rochester's already
with a
finished
log jam at the top, right?
Yeah, and Rochester's already finished with Buffalo, I believe. They split a 2-game series. And I don't think they play again until yeah, they don't play 3 times this year, so that will be
weird.
There's a lot of incentive for the Nighthawks
yeah.
to find a way to win out this game.
Well, it'll be interesting to see come Saturday. I'll be there.
Yep.
I'll be there. Yep. All right, so let's get on to that Georgia game.
Do we have to?
Well, talking with the Georgia assistant coach this evening, literally it was a great team effort. Everybody chipped in. So
yeah,
I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, the first, I guess, surprise was Justin Getty getting the start for Albany in place of Doug Jamieson. Not sure what's going on there, but obviously Jamieson hasn't been quite like the 2020 form that won him goaltender of the year. So Georgia gets out to a 9-1 halftime lead and ends up winning 20-4. Just an all-around goal fest for Georgia. You had Lyle Thompson with 5 goals, 7 assists. Shane Jackson, his usual hat trick and a pair of assists. Andrew Q, 7-3 against his former team. Seth Oakes, 2-3 against his former team. So,
do you want something that's really concerning? Not only that they only got 4 goals in Albany, all 4 goals were on the power play. So they just didn't score an even strength goal all night. That's concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I didn't put Albany at the lower echelon of the league, but right now I put them at the very bottom of the league with this performance. Because there's nothing
and certainly, boy, so this was the front end of a home and home. So they're going back to Albany next weekend.
Where they don't play well.
Already, yep.
Yeah.
And if Georgia wins that one, Albany could be looking at the number 1 pick already. Just based on that, because I believe they've already lost their season series with the Riptide. If they lose, they would lose their season series with Georgia. I don't believe they play Vancouver.
I think even if they win, they lose their season series with Georgia because I don't think there's going to be a 16-goal differential.
No.
No, there won't, but they play 3 times, I believe.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, I believe they play Georgia 3 times. So I'll have to check on that, but I'm pretty certain that Georgia's one of the teams that they play 3 times. So
I guess my question is, how does Albany just turn this around? Like that's a $1 million question to me. Like
I don't know, and I know we talked last week and said, hey, this would be a totally different story if not for the injury to Joe Nardella. But
even still,
yeah, at some point injuries are.
Just at some point the offense has just started.
It was 20-8. It's not that big a deal.
Well, but they've just stopped clicking. I mean, the first 4 games. I mean, they won on the road at Buffalo. They won on the road at Halifax. 2 extremely difficult places to win. So
I'm curious,
obviously
though,
there was talk about it's a whole new look offense. You have no film on them together. How can you prepare for them? That kind of stuff. Okay, well, I mean, it seems like they're not taking anyone by surprise anymore.
well, no, I don't think
So
anybody's.
so
I don't think
so
anybody's worried. They're playing their game against them and making them do all the changes. Albany got 4 power play goals, like I mentioned, but they were 4 for 11. So there's even a dark cloud over that. Georgia was 4
Yeah.
for 4 in the power play. So that hurts.
yeah, I
They had 37 shots on net.
there's no good
They're not getting
answer.
shots.
Yeah, like you mentioned, there's a team effort in Georgia. Is almost that perfect storm. Where it was a team effort from Georgia, and it was a complete team collapse by Albany.
Georgia had to have a game like this sooner or later.
Well, they were due.
They just
Yeah,
they just had this game played on them in Toronto. Toronto beat them from pillar to post last week. The
Yeah.
week before, Georgia could have won that game, but they got beaten like a drum last week. So pride would have pride and excuse me, pride and opportunity would have taken over in this game, and unfortunately for Albany, they were the opportunity. So is Albany this bad? No. Is every star in alignment for this particular thing? Yeah, we were talking about it a bit during the week. That if this was a game that Georgia was going to come out and absolutely go gunfire and blazing, this was the one. Sure enough.
Yeah. Well, we all did pick Georgia, so we got
Well,
that.
yeah.
I guess we did see it coming. I guess my concern, as kind of a last thing for Albany is my concern now. I guess would be you already spent the off season rebuilding a good chunk of your offense. How concerned are you that you might be rebuilding a good chunk of your defense? Because maybe some guys aren't looking to re-sign there
Yeah.
next year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some guys are looking to be on the move.
Well, they're going to need to be in conversations probably from now on to the end of the year and figure out where they stand because something has to be done. Otherwise, they're going to be, they won't be there because nobody's coming to the game.
Yeah, because I mean, some, it's entirely possible. I'd have to look at transaction timelines and stuff, but it's entirely possible some of these guys re-sign with the team before it ever fell apart in the offseason with the whole CBA and Terrets moving to Philly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Patrick, what's going on, man?
Hey, Patrick.
We are the double crew. That's us, double S, double G, and double M. Good to see you, Patrick. Thanks for joining in. And Eduardo's got a point, too. Albany underestimated them. Yeah, but there's only so much underestimating you can do when you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we kind of saw a little bit of coming the weeks ahead.
So. I think
the one thing that stands out is that there was more production, obviously, on Georgia from more people. Lyle had 5 and 7. Andrew Q, he had 7 and 3. Seth Oakes, 2 goals, 3 assists. You had Shane Jackson, 3 goals, 2 assists. Zach Miller had a goal. Brian Cole added a goal. Brendan Bombery, a goal and 3 assists. There was multiple people in there doing what they're supposed to be doing, where they've had a lot of problems with that of recent, where only 1 or 2 guys, Lyle and maybe Shane, are doing anything.
Yeah.
And occasionally Shane won't and Andrew will. So it's an either or. It doesn't seem like they're all working at the same time. This game, everybody was working at the same time, and you can see the results. That this team can be explosive if they are working together. And again, as Sean Ferris said, 60 minutes worth of play. Not 40, not 38, not 20. 60 minutes, and this is the result.
I mean, I guess the only concern I would have with that is who didn't you see playing or scoring?
Lanchbury.
They're younger guys, yeah. Lanchbury, McComber. That might be a little concerning. but I guess you can, I hate to lean on the excuse that they're rookies and, they need time to develop and all that, but
Hmm.
you certainly hope they can kind of get in the swing and hopefully
Yeah.
find consistency sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's funny. I don't know if they're going to be able to catch the top four, but with the schedule that they have left and they're playing every single week, they can make a run to make things interesting, and they can be spoilers.
Uh, I would agree with that. I would I would maybe say some of these results maybe open the door for Philly. I mean, Philly was idle this week, but they're 3-5, so technically, they've got 2 games in hand on Halifax for the 4th spot, which is a secure playoff spot.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not the team that played Halifax in the season opener for sure. So maybe there's a chance. I think they've probably played the more difficult part of their schedule. With their games against Buffalo and Toronto, what didn't really go so well.
No.
But again, they do have the easiest strength of schedule.
Well, they're playing Albany next week, then Rochester on a Sunday afternoon the week after. Philadelphia, that's going to be a big one.
That should be a good one.
Yeah, that's Sunday, March 18th. And,
Well, I was referring more to Philly's schedule because
uh,
Georgia is actually the opposite. They have the most difficult schedule.
Well, not anymore
in the league
because Georgia's playing New York.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
I think
I was looking at it from an overall standpoint.
So I think I agree.
I think the toughest part of Georgia's schedule's over.
So I agree with Gary. I think you're going to see a lot of spoilers. You just look what we're seeing in the West right now. It could easily be in the East as well, especially if there's not going to be that wild card crossover team.
Right. Well, that's the other thing too is if they rain on Philadelphia's parade, there's no chance that Philadelphia can be the crossover team.
Yeah.
Right.
So, again, you don't have to be just a spoiler in the East, but for an East team to try and cross over, they can be the thorn in the side there. So we'll see. We'll see. That brings us to the other really shocker, and that is the Saskatchewan game.
Yeah.
And I watched that one, and I kept looking at my TV going, something's wrong with the TV. The score's backwards. But every time they showed Alex Bouquet in net, he looked like a deer lost in it.
Yeah. This was the goaltending, really, what it came down to. Obviously, Vancouver took out Saskatchewan on their home floor, 16-12. And, man, Aaron Bold had himself
got it at 37, eh?
Yeah.
Still got it at 37.
Yeah, 51 saves off of 63 shots. And it's not like the Rush didn't have their chances. I mean, Boldy had a game, and one of note for the Rush, I guess, is one name we've been waiting for, Ryan Barnable. Finally made it into the lineup after coming off the injury list, and for his very first shot goes in on a pretty nice goal.
Too, eh?
Yeah. And you know what? He had some other chances throughout that game, so keep your eye on him. He's going to be a good one too. Just to add kind of a little bit more youth to that back end for the Rush. But yeah, I mean, for Vancouver, Charlotte Beatty's had 6 points, Evans with 7, Keegan Ball with 11. Killen had a hat trick. Even Martel had 2 goals and an assist. They came to play, and again, I guess you got to start to ask that question about Bouquet. We're heading into that second half. He had a not great game against Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
He had an all right game, I guess, against San Diego. Now he's had another rough night against Vancouver. I don't know if it's time necessarily to start looking at Penny, but you're getting close, I think, if he's going to have another shaky game.
Yeah, and the question is Penny the answer for a playoff run? I know Bouquet isn't, but is Penny the answer?
Well, he didn't show much either, really, Penny, when he got in either.
Yeah,
Like,
that's another thing too, right? When it wasn't working, it wasn't working. Yeah,
no.
six goals, 14 saves, right? In 20 minutes of action.
Yeah. I mean,
So
if you want an upside for the Rush, I mean, at least their young guys showed up. Like Austin Madronic again, 3 goals and 2 assists. I
right.
mean, the kid's been outstanding. Mark Matthews had 5 points. Like we
Also
said,
showing a mean
Barnable.
streak, eh?
Oh,
Mark
yeah.
Matthews is starting to show his
Yeah.
mean streak again.
I mean, and of course, Beers and Evans kind of exchanged pleasantries in the third quarter a little bit
You
there.
had
Like,
to
these
love
teams
that,
both
eh?
love that.
The Evans
These,
embellishment penalty was beautiful.
you know, and
I thought there was a
these,
sniper in the
even though
second.
these two, even though these two teams really are kind of in opposite directions, kind of one's really struggling, one's been top echelon for many years. These teams don't like each other, and it's
No.
been like that for years.
Well, I'm convinced that Evans is going to end up with the all-time penalty minutes record. So any I'll take the embellishment. Just
To add to the
yeah.
pile?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if he isn't already a lock for the Hall of Fame, I mean,
Why not?
being in the top 5 all time in scoring and probably the top 5 all time in assists and being the all time penalty minute leader will be quite the.
Yeah.
But for a team that's been floundering all year, and this wasn't a 1-goal win, 16-12, and really it was about 16-10. There was a couple of garbage goals at the end.
Yeah.
But,
was solid.
that's just, where did this come from? Or is it finally getting through what Troy's trying to do? And it just took half the year and a few trades.
Yeah.
I'm willing to say yes.
Because, the one thing I did notice was him on the bench. He could be easily sitting up in a box as the interim GM and let Sanderson try and figure out himself. But these guys are out there, sleeves rolled, and trying to get this thing right. And I have a feeling that Troy isn't going to rest until he's got this thing right. So don't be surprised if you see another move or two in the next week. And for picks, not for players, for picks.
Yeah, I just wonder if this is a one-off. Not that I'm not saying Cordling's not going in the right direction, but I don't know. I felt the Rush were just not on their game that night. Yeah,
I mean, I'd agree with that, but I think the players are buying in.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen in the last 2 weeks they've been a lot more competitive than they have been since the beginning of the year. That's for sure. There's no question about that.
Yeah, they really have, and maybe, who knows? Maybe they got told that hey, you guys are playing for your jobs, and maybe they got a little harsh reminder that the trade deadline's in a month and a half, and hey, don't get complacent because you're a local or something like that.
Yeah. Albany is awaiting.
Yeah,
it's more than just Albany, if you ask me. But
yeah.
Well, that's another thing I found interesting, just kind of standing wise coming in this, because with Las Vegas beating Calgary, the Rush really had an opportunity to take a hold of second place there and didn't take advantage of that.
Yeah, that could hurt him down the road. This was also a good point. Charlotte Beatty's had a great game.
Yeah, he did.
He was, and it wasn't even so much of his point out, but he was everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly think he's known since they traded Mitch Jones that it's going to be him.
Yeah,
right.
He's the man on the left hand side, and he's going to have to step up. And so far he's answering the bell.
Yeah, him and Bowering are going to be what they build around.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
I think so. And I'll mention it again. They've got Owen Grant coming in next year, so.
Now, my thing, and of course I can't stand him. So, Owen Barker, you finally just say thanks, because the fights he's in, he doesn't win. Needless penalties. He puts your team in peril. Do you need him there? Do you have another roster spot open for somebody to do something else? Or does he?
It might be something you look at. I mean, again, it's Vancouver. I don't think anything's off the table.
I just, me personally, is he NL quality? Yes. Does he serve it there in Vancouver the way they need to be fixed? I don't think so. Would he serve better on, let's say, a Buffalo or something like that? I think so. Where he doesn't.
Especially when you're talking about the penalties thing. I mean, Sean Evans is spending half his time in the box anyways. You don't need anyone else taking penalties.
You're gonna have two of those guys filling it up so that automatically somebody else gets a penalty for anything as a penalty shot.
Yeah.
True.
So yeah, just a thought, amongst other things that needs to be fixed there. But they played a great game, and from start to finish.
Oh yeah.
And me personally, I sat there and I was waiting for it to drop off the cliff. Never did.
Yeah, I think we all was like, okay, when's the Rush going to get that big run on this Vancouver team because they didn't play 60 minutes? But no.
Yep, and the Rush would come back with a beauty of a goal, and then Vancouver would come back themselves.
Yeah,
something I didn't see at the beginning of the year.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, that's maybe what I was humming on about the one off with the Rush is like, I don't think I would push other than goaltending. I don't think I'd push that panic button. I don't think they had a horrible game. Vancouver outplayed them. Plain and simple.
And, if they had solid goaltending, that probably would have become that 1-goal game.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 or 3 of those goals that, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Looking forward to next week. It's a weird week because we even have a Monday game. Yes, we do. Thank you, Philadelphia. So we got Buffalo against Halifax in Halifax Friday night. That should be an interesting game.
That's a good one.
We got New York against Philadelphia on a Saturday in Philadelphia. You have Vegas, Vegas against San Diego in San Diego. Now, the way Vegas is playing, that becomes an interesting game. When you originally looked at the schedule, you thought that's going to be just an absolute killer.
I would not be shocked if Vegas somehow pulls that one off, but
yeah,
that's the outdoor game, right?
That is.
It is, yeah.
That is. So maybe the wind is blowing in their direction.
Yep.
You have Rochester coming to Toronto in another huge game. First place implications there. Georgia and Albany have their second end of the home and home in Albany. Saskatchewan heads over to Texas for Panther City. And on Monday evening...
That's a big one, too. That's
a
rubber
just
match.
in case you guys are not doing anything, we can all go to Philadelphia, and we can watch Toronto and Philadelphia with depleted lineups because everybody works for the Monday evening game.
Yeah.
Oof. Monday evening. Oof.
Yep.
Yeah.
Philadelphia, man. They're the ones who come up with the Friday morning. They're the ones that come up with the Sunday afternoon. Here we are with a Monday night game. Last one I watched was Georgia and Toronto in the playoffs when they couldn't get the arena on the Saturday. The circus was in town or something. But Philadelphia is playing on Saturday night, so I guess Sunday would be too soon. I'm in a lot. I've looked at that when I saw it when it first came out, and we're finally here at it, and it just, So Toronto has to play in Toronto and then fly to Philadelphia for Monday night.
Wow.
Jeez.
And Philadelphia's got 2 home games out of that one, so interesting.
Yeah, and if Philly pulls out that one against New York, that's what I was trying to get at earlier. Was now that I know the schedule, if they pull out a win against New York and then manage to beat Toronto because maybe they're flat and they had to fly in, suddenly they're 500.
Teams with them.
Just think about that for a sec. Suddenly they're 500 at 5-5, and if Buffalo beats Halifax is now 5-6, and now Philadelphia is in the number 4 spot.
Interesting, eh?
Yeah.
That's how quickly it can change.
Yep, over one weekend.
And once again, I'm wearing the wrong shirt, right? Because I got the
Yeah.
It is a Jeff Teat shirt, so. But obviously he wasn't playing. But
So
yeah.
That mean you're going to wear your Wings hat on Monday night? If they lose?
Good idea. It is just over here, right? It's sitting there.
Let's see what you're trying to pull there.
Yeah. Just seeing if my luck is still working 100%. I'm backing you. See you later. Make plans for golfing.
Stay off cool bet this weekend.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Make sure you get a hold of my pick'ems. Then go bet the other way. Make a lot of money. Just remember to buy me a coffee or something. Anyways, any last words? We had an abbreviated week this week because we only had 5 games, guys.
A little bit. Well, now that I know.
Actually, you know what? Just before we go, I want to just bring up one thing since we're talking about PLL. The tournament itself, success, failure. What do you think, Mike?
I'd like to think it was a success. I'll be honest and upfront. I didn't really get to watch much of any of it,
Right.
but certainly knowing about it,
Right.
it's only a good thing for the league as far as just the publicity,
Getting the name out there. Yeah.
Clearly, the games were pretty action packed. I mean, I understand it's a sixes format, but I imagine attendance was pretty decent.
Yeah, it was an indoor facility too. This facility was crazy. It's humongous. This is only one little part of it, and there's all kinds of other athletic things in there in Washington. So it really is something to behold. When I took a look at the website of the place they played, and you go through the virtual tour, and it's just incredible. So to pull this off there, you know that the sixes will work. And can you imagine when you have all the guys who are in the NLL back with their teams trying to do this and for the Olympics?
I guess that's my point a little bit with my maybe beef with it a little bit is, PL tried to label this as the best players in the world going at the sixes. And why did you hold it in the middle of the NLL season? Wouldn't you have loved to have seen Teeth or Thompson or Smith or Dylan Ward in this tournament?
Right.
If I remember correctly, when they first announced it, is one of their thinking was, yes, it's to introduce the sixes, but also it's also been about 6 months since they had their championship. So in order to get their season rolling, this gets people talking about the PLL again. Good or bad, they're talking about it.
Yeah.
And it's reminding them of the game and the players and how it can be. Talking about the smaller field, the 2-point line, and all the other things that you're not seeing with NLL right now.
Yeah.
Just to give them something else to talk about for the summer.
Yeah, for sure. And I've heard a few things too about maybe some of the things we can take from it that maybe tweak. I know like people were talking about maybe we need a little bit smaller nets. There were a lot of goals, but there were a lot of goals.
Yes, there was.
So it's not maybe necessarily a bad thing too, just to see, okay, where can we tweak this a little bit? It's not broken. I'm not saying that at all. Maybe there's some tweaks that we can make to make it better.
I think so, but you know what? Again, it's the same thing. They don't let the NLL players play the WLA or MSL, so you got to live by the sword, you die by the sword, right?
Yeah.
And of course, they're not NLL teams, even though this was done more or less during the week, aren't going to. Can you imagine if somebody got hurt?
Yeah. No, I mean just the sixes game
went down for the year.
Yeah, and I mean just the sixes game. It's nice to kind of look at it now and say, okay, how, because the sixes is relatively new, to look at how we can maybe tweak it to make it even better.
Now remember, the Olympics they're looking for is the one that's going to be in Los Angeles, so they're also looking at not just the game itself, but the camera angles, the announcing, all the other intricacies that are going to make this the shining pearl of the new things that come in for that Olympics. Because they have 5 years to do it now. So there's no excuses. You put on as many of these things as you can to try and get as much input as you can to try and tinker a little bit here and there or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
By the time it gets on the Olympic stage, there it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's not necessarily broken, but hey, let's tinker a little bit here. Maybe we can make it a little bit better there.
Now we've seen a flaw by 7,000 goals. So, what can they do to try and shore up things where it looks like there's some goalies in there?
Yeah.
Because, man, again, with a field that's short and goalies that are just, no equipment and one stick, man, you're going to get that. Imagine if you start getting the guys like the Jeff Teets in there, like the Trevor Batiste, like the other guys who are sharpshooters, and they're going to start shooting. Wow.
Yeah.
These are going to be 40 to 38 games.
Yeah. Like, do you look at maybe like NLL size nets on the field? Like,
Yeah, you might want to shrink down the net a little bit on a 6
yeah.
because of the field being small, they can shoot from anywhere. You know, it wouldn't be outlandish to say that they're going to shoot from center and score.
Yeah.
It's not that far comparative to what they're doing in the summer with the PLL. Have to give the goalies more padding. Maybe a bigger stick. I thought the announcing was pretty good, actually. You know, but then again, I'd listened to the Georgia game. So
that's a pretty
I
low
don't
bar, that Georgia game.
Oh, those poor guys in Georgia. Remember, the goalie stood on his head, but not literally, because that would be weird. Oh, well. That does it for another week, boys. Thank you very much. Any last words, Shawn?
Well, like you mentioned, next week, looking forward to it because we could see some drastic changes in the standings, I think.
Yeah, we're at that stage now of the season where things can happen very quickly.
Yeah.
And with the schedules the way they are, very, very quickly. Mike, any last words?
Same as Shawn. I'm looking forward to next week's NLL games.
Cool. Well, for Muffler Mike in Connecticut and for Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, I am Gary Groob in Toronto, and I want to thank you all again for joining us on a Sunday evening, talking our favorite sport, lacrosse. Remember, always keep your stick in your hands, and until next week, take care.